Welcome back to our K-swapped NC Miata build. We are here at beautiful Toronto Motorsports Park. But before we hit the track, let's take it for a street drive and see how it feels.
I want to interrupt here real quick before I roll the street drive. Some of the audio is really bad during the drive, and that's just because the mics were picking up a resonance that really we heard, but it wasn't so defined and pronounced as it is on the microphones. So I do apologize for that, but it is a track car, so hopefully you guys can tolerate it. That's a track car there, DP.
That is track car.
We the diff is a little clunky.
Yep, that's much tight diff life, unfortunately.
And now that we've stripped the interior, the car is loud. It's got to keep it above 4,000 RPMs, DP. That's the way to go.
Going up the escarpment here.
It's kind of the only way. This is like our only real road that feels Touge-esque here.
Yes.
If we just had this
for another 4 kilometers, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be amazing. No such luck around here, unfortunately. So there is some buzzing coming from the rear end, which I guess is a combination of, like, you know, spherical bearings, the diff. We put the diff mounts on poly bushings.
Yeah.
You know, the exhaust is 3-inch. So there's just going to be
and now we have nothing. There's no barrier.
All
there's
open
no
here,
sound deadening
from the trunk right to us.
From the trunk to here. So it's like that muffler, that exhaust is literally like right behind us, right?
It is. And we could like try to fit some of that back in there if we wanted to, but for a track car, who cares?
You know, we were like, whatever, who cares exactly?
But I will say the engine NVH is very low compared to other K-swap cars.
Like look at this thing. It feels, it doesn't buzz, it doesn't shake your rear view mirror.
Exactly, like, your side view mirrors.
It truly is a refined swap. Like, this is the first K-swap I've driven where it feels like stock. Like,
it really does.
This does not vibrate.
It does not feel buzzy at all.
Like, no. It's incredible. Look at this thing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is a huge win for sure.
Yeah.
That's a nice taste of the tech right there. I like it.
A little rev limiter for everybody, just to let them know. Boy, oh boy, listen, like all these noises just like come out of the woodwork. Like, listen to that.
It's like, is it the hard top or seat belts?
It's like all of a sudden you put a car together and you got it.
Yep.
It just, everything comes out of nowhere. So on these roads here, you can see the ride quality is actually superb.
Yeah.
Like, as long as we're not down in our area where we usually are driving.
Yeah, pothole city down there.
Yeah, like this is, and we're pretty low. Like, it's remarkable how good this car really is.
Oh, for cruising on this type of road, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are pretty aggressive spring rates, and this is a club spec damper, so, you know, it's set up for the track, but it's very streetable, isn't it?
Every time. It just sounds so good. It's so linear.
You know what?
Yes.
A rear drive K sounds better than a front drive K. Something about the way that's configured, the exhaust routing or whatever it is, the header design, it doesn't sound as raspy or as hollow or tinny as they do sometimes in a front drive car.
Agreed, yeah.
So this car sounds really good. Like, I'm not always the biggest fan of the way the K sounds, but in this car it sounds good.
Yeah, no, it really does.
Oh, what have you put on here?
Tire chirp. Let's feel those brakes, DP.
They're strong, man. They're strong.
It's really crazy how good the brakes are, given that they're stock brakes. Everyone, you know, you'd think you got to go to a 4-pot.
Yeah,
like a BBK.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't feel like you have to in this car.
It feels really good,
It's impressive, man. And interior-wise, like, I actually find this car to be quite roomy.
It is roomy.
These Buddy Club seats are pretty perfect.
I like
in
that a lot.
sense. Like, we're like really comfortable. I'm a 32 waist. I can slide around.
Yeah.
So
I'm snug at a 34 or 35 waist in here, but not too snug. It's actually perfect for a track car.
And, you know, the steering wheel, obviously the position of it, real good. Yep. Shifter, I certainly do love. It's just nice. It's like, I feel like maybe a little bit shorter, but
the throws,
the throws are, you can see they're quite long there.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah,
it's got a weight to it, so I think it kind of makes up for it. So.
Yeah, and the gearbox gearbox has a nice shift quality overall, I find.
Yeah, it's no S2000 gearbox.
But nothing is really. So.
But it still feels, for what it is, I think it feels pretty good. All right, guys, I think we've done enough chatting in here. We know you guys really want to see what the racetrack looks like, so let's get over there, DP. All right.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, or at least I've been waiting for, and that is to hit the track in this K-Swap Miata. So pumped on this little car. And really, this is what we built it for. Go have fun on the racetrack. Lightweight chassis, lots of tire, race-tuned suspension, all the good stuff in one package here. So just going to put some heat in the tires here and talk to you a little bit about how the car feels initially on track, and so far so good. I should mention this is a very bumpy road course, so it doesn't necessarily suit high spring rates, and we are on a 12K front, 7K rear setup, which NX designed based on their 3D modeling of the car and like full suspension geometry analysis, so that they could stroke the suspension on their computer and really see what damping and what spring rates this chassis wants. So they put in a huge effort to build us these coilovers, and we're very appreciative of it. I am driving with the windows up, fellas, because you need to be able to hear me, but it's also 100 degrees out. It is a hot one. So, and really the goal today is not to set a blistering lap time. I haven't put the lap timer in the car, and I may not, just depending on how things go. We really just want to shake it down, see if it has any issues, you know, any noises that it shouldn't have. Noises it should have, however, that glorious K24 pounding out the horsepower down the front straight here. So good. Third gear is long in this car though, wow. I didn't even get into fourth there, although I will get into fourth on a proper hot lap. Oh, little tire rub there. So this car has come down a lot. Pete and I were noticing the ride height has gotten significantly lower since doing that street drive. So we're gonna have some work to do to get the ride height back to where it should be and get some travel back in the suspension. But man, it feels real sticky through here. Balance feels good. Just sliding the rear end a little bit there into this sharp left-hander where it's going to want to slide a little bit, but it's very easy to control. Car feels really well behaved so far, guys. Caught up to a Mustang. Always the goal in a Miata. See if this guy goes full meme spec on us or if he keeps it on the track. I apologize, Mustang owners. That was a low blow, I know, but come on, you got to have a little fun. I'm sure now he's going to not look in his mirrors and pull away from me on the front straight, but let's see what happens. Oh no, he's pointing me line. Well done, sir. I applaud you. I applaud you. I almost want to go to second here, and it's so bumpy down by the apex, but wow, the dampers are working very well. Kudos to NX on that, because it soaked up those bumps very, very well. I overcooked the apex there a bit. Man, this car feels really gripped up. I can certainly slide the rear end on throttle there, as you can see. A little lift off, oversteer. Whoa! A little too much oversteer there. It is a lively chassis. And as we get the tires hotter, we might be working the rears a little more than the fronts at the moment. It's starting to feel a little loose. I also don't exactly know where the red line is because I'm burying the needle on the tack. So apologies to you Honda lovers who don't like the sound of a rev limiter. Oh, this car's gonna be fast, guys. It's feeling so good for an initial shakedown. It's feeling really good. Post hot laps checkup here, and occurred to me that the tires we're gonna be way overinflated because I forgot to check them before I went out. Sure enough, we're at 38 PSI, which is about 10 PSI too high. Out back, I've got 40 PSI. That's why this car was oversteering. That's literally like 12 degrees. We should be at 28 hot based on our experience on the extreme contact force tires. Maybe even lower than that in the rear. So I actually went 28 to the front and I'm gonna go like 26 and a half in the back. Try to put a little extra grip in the rear. And as you can see here, we also have basically no wheel well gap left. And when I set this car up and we did the alignment, I could fit 2 fingers in there. So like we've dropped at least a half an inch, which is not great. So that's gonna throw our alignment out. We did hear some tire rub during those initial laps. I couldn't tell it was from the front or the rear, but we are rubbing somewhere. Last but not least, black wheels are now covered in that Hawk ER1 brake dust, but it hides it pretty well. So I don't love black wheels for a street car, but I do love them for a track car. And of course, it's always a good idea to check your oil level when you're at the racetrack, because with the G-forces we're gonna see here, and we have overfilled the oil a little bit here, which is advisable with the K-Series, though of course we do have that Unit 2 baffled oil pan in there, so we're not too worried about it, but we've filled it with VR1, as you would have known from previous episodes, in their 10W30 weight, which is basically the factory weight for a K-Series. In the past, I've been a fan of going to 40 weight in K-Series motors, and if we wanted to do that, then we could take a 50-50 mix of their 20W50 and this 10W30 to get it to a 40 weight. So don't be afraid to do a little oil science, guys. And of course, when you're doing that science, use Valvoline VR1 because it gives you the best protection at the racetrack. Well, fellas, I wasn't expecting to do this today, but the car is working well enough that we figured, you know what, let's just throw the lap timer in there and give it a little bit of a send and see what it can do. Just keep in mind, this is really just a preliminary lap time. The car still needs a lot of refinement, as we talked about already, but why not get a baseline here, and then it'll give us a data point that we can track and use as a measuring stick as we improve the car's setup. So no racer excuses. The car is freshly built, so let's see what it can do. Overslowed a little there and hit the curb. All the noob moves, everybody. All the noob moves. This car's got such a nice front end. The steering is so quick. Ergonomics are excellent too. Really good heel and toe. This Momo Monte Carlo, perfect. This Buddy Club seat is really nice in here too. I'm just in a really nice, comfortable position here. It's all good. But sort that out later. Starting to get the flow a little bit here. This cup holder on the door is pure evil. Hate everything about it. about. I feel like the shift knob came loose on me there. I'll have to tighten that down. Guys, those are 3 of the messiest laps you'll see ever on YouTube, but I had a ton of fun. This car is so promising. I did a best of a 120.9, and then I did a couple of in the 121s, just making a mess of it. But looking back at our S2000 build, when we did the same set of suspension and brake mods, we only did a 124.1. So we are like 3 seconds ahead of the pace that the S2000 set at the same point in its build process. And then of course we got the S2000 down into like a high 119 with aero and a lot of refinement in the setup. So to me, this car is gonna trounce the S2000. It's gonna get well past that mark we set with the S2000. It's really a question of how low can it go. I think it'll go 118s if we really work on the setup. It's really that good. But most importantly, it is so much fun to drive. Like, I can't wait until Pete goes out there and rips some hot laps. He's been working hard here in the paddock all day instead, but it's a really rewarding, fun car to drive at the limit. It's very playful. It's what a Miata is. Like, it's a short wheelbase, grippy little car that, you know, twists and twitches and it just feels alive underneath of you. And with that K24, it just takes everything up. I mean, your straight line speed is so much more than it would be otherwise. And the sound it makes is really fun too. The gearbox works great, by the way. This 5-speed shifts remarkably well. Third gear is very long though. So a future idea I have that Pete won't love because it involves taking the diff apart again would be to put a higher final drive in it. And that is in fact what the GLTC guys recommend with this 5-speed gearbox as well. So maybe that's a future mod, maybe it isn't. And as a street car, I mean, this thing is a ton of fun too. Yes, I think it's a little bit too hardcore in terms of spring rates for a street car, but you could go for Annex's Fast Road Pro setup, go with a lower spring rate, and it would be a really fun, comfortable road car with this K in it. Like, it's surprisingly low NVH. Even with a 3-inch exhaust, it's not loud and it actually sounds really good. In this rear drive configuration, a K sounds way better than it does in a front drive car. So I'm in love with this car, guys, and I hope you are too. And we will, of course, have more for you on this before we take it down to Lime Rock to hang out with our friends from Valvoline and have fun with everyone there.